Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you're joining me on Facebook, if you're joining me on YouTube, glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's talk NVIDIA today, right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, guys, just so I know that you can hear me okay. But I want to talk about NVIDIA perhaps being a very, very strong buy before earnings. Earnings is August 28th, right? NVIDIA today closed at $130 per share. Now, as you guys know on this channel, we sort of been talking about NVIDIA for the last couple of months as sort of a hot stock, as a stock that is kind of has pretty really once in a lifetime type of gains, right? So we've been talking about it and just watching this stock and really sort of using this stock as as sort of a gauge, right? In terms of learning about the stock market. Like you could learn a lot just by taking and looking at this one stock over the last 6 months or so, right? How it's grown, how it's had some ebb and flow, some ups, some downs, some volatility, how it's split, right? Not to mention the industry that it's in. We've looked at earnings per share, we looked at PE ratio, and we looked at all those things about NVIDIA. We've also kind of looked at the actual competitors to NVIDIA. We've looked at the Broadcoms. We looked at maybe even the next NVIDIA in Palantir, right? We've done a lot of different videos about this stock. And so what I've been trying to do is just kind of follow it along a little bit so you guys can see and learn, because I know we have a lot of new investors in this chat and on this YouTube channel as well. So I want to dig into NVIDIA and why it may be a solid look in the next several days as we lead up to earnings. And we've already done a sort of a similar video, but this one is going to be, now that we're closer to earnings, we're starting to see the stock take some different turns and different moves. And I want to kind of bring that out to you guys. So first things first, let's take a look at where we are today with NVIDIA as a stock. Right now, NVIDIA today closed at a whopping $130 per share. Now, some of you are probably saying, what do you mean whopping $130 per share? Well, what I mean is, and you guys that have followed the whole trend in the last 6 months or less with NVIDIA, you know that just 5 days ago, 6 days ago, we were looking at NVIDIA around $98 per share, right? So a ginormous swing, again, more volatility in this stock in the last several days. I read today where it said the shares of NVIDIA are up more than 30% from their low point like 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, right? And they've had a 6-day winning streak. That winning streak means 6 days of going up, which is the longest streak in a row they've had of going up since March, right? Well, not March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, about March or so, right? 5 or 6 months. So we see this swing. And why do we see this swing? Well, as I mentioned last week, we're seeing this swing because NVIDIA is actually about to release its earnings report, right? So over the past 6 or 7 days of trading, the stock is up like 20-something%. Now, I think I have a pretty strong connection. If I don't, that's cool. I'll keep talking, but this won't be a very long video, okay? So let me just show you a few of the projections real quick. Let me pull out of here real quick and show you a few of the projections that we had on NVIDIA. Let me see if I can pull a few of them up. Bear with me. Let's see here. Okay. Just sharing my screen here. Let's see. Nope. Wrong one. Okay. So as you look, there's always projections out there, forward projections, right? And right now, NVIDIA, as you can see here, I'm looking at the NASDAQ.com website. It's a strong buy right now. All the analysts, these are all the analysts that have actually been making recommendations on it, right? And sort of the consensus is that it may get to, based on analysts offering 12-month price targets for NVIDIA in the last 3 months, the average price target is 144 per share with a high of 200 and a low of 100. And I think we've already hit that low. Some people think we may get back there, but most people are projecting that we're not going to get back down to that low. So $144 is its sort of projection, right? So that's sort of, well, okay. Why do we do projections? Okay, why do analysts do projections. They make forward stock projections to gauge the company's performance based on its past performance, economic conditions, industry trends. They look at investor sentiment, right? Kind of how people are feeling about the stock and the industry itself. They look at valuation models, and they also projections just offer sort of a guidance for investors who are thinking about investing in a stock, right? So it has its projections. Let me just show you this while I'm at it. Let me bring this up for you and show you some further projections that are a little further out, right? Here's some stock predictions for Nvidia out to the year 2027, 2028, right? Nvidia stock projections, right, or predictions right here. The low at 91, it's 91 to 180 in August this year. They're projecting it out in January of next year to be around between 190 and 225 per share. And so these are projections. In other words, they're projecting this thing far out, right? Because again, always remember this, guys, about the stock market. The stock market is forward looking. That means that it's looking at things that is happening out there, right? And sometimes it's pricing in what it thinks will happen out there today, right? It's pricing in what it thinks will happen down the road in the stock price that you see today, right? So in my opinion, my personal opinion, I think Nvidia is bound to report in the next 5 days, no, next 10 days, eight or 9, 10 days. I think they're bound to report another strong quarter of earnings. Another strong quarter of earnings. Because this AI boom, although we saw a lull in tech stocks in the last couple of weeks, this AI boom is here to stay, guys, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm no expert, but I think it's here to stay. Everything I read says that tech firms are still in the early stages of investing in AI hardware. Now, listen, the early stages of investing in AI hardware, yet they're spending tons and tons of money on AI chips and AI stuff and AI data centers right now. The stuff that Nvidia is out there actually making and selling and so forth, right? So I think what we saw a couple of weeks ago, that sort of sell-off that we had in Nvidia shares, I think it really stemmed from kind of retail investor sentiment that and concern that demand for AI might be going away or going down a little bit, right? Demand for the AI chips, right? And then we had the issues with the Blackwell that they had the new thing they had come out, the next generation GPU or whatever. There were some issues with that, and I think that might have been just a story, by the way, right? Because I read a few places that said, hey, there was no issue with the Blackwell chip, but when they put it out there, it started a rumor, and sometimes you got to be careful with these type of volatile tech stocks. People will say things to lower the stock, to sell the stock, say things to bring the sentiment down, lower the stock, and next thing you know, they can sell there. So you got to be really careful, or buy the stock low, right? They can get it low and buy the stock low, and you just got to be really careful with such a volatile stock like Nvidia, right? But some of Nvidia's largest customers out here have reported super duper healthy profits because of this AI boom, right? In fact, I was going to do a video tonight about super microcomputer, which is one of Nvidia's large customers. And I'll probably do that video in a couple of days, Wednesday or Thursday of this week. We'll probably dig into super microcomputer, who had their earnings reported back on August 6th, and they did not meet certain targets. Now, they met a revenue target, Supermicro. They met their revenue target. Matter of fact, they blew their revenue out the water. But the cost of that revenue was a little high and above expectations. So they didn't do, so their stock has tumbled since then a little bit, right? And this is super microcomputer. So I was going to have a conversation about them, but I said, look, Nvidia is starting to get crazy right before earnings. Let's talk about Nvidia first. But super microcomputer, right? It's a large customer of Nvidia that I'm going to hit later on this week. We're going to dig into their company, and look at their stuff. Maybe talk about their earnings report, talk about their EPS, earnings per share, their PE ratios, talk about their revenue, all that good stuff. We'll look at that down the road. But I had to hold that talk off just for a couple of days because of what I saw happening with Nvidia today, closing at $130 per share. Let me go back to that real quick. Nvidia closing at $100 per share. I want to point some things out to you guys real quick. Hope you guys don't mind. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here, guys. And I just jump right into it, but I'm sharing my screen right now. So on my screen, and if you're not on my screen, go over to YouTube, go to Smart Money Bro on YouTube. You can look at my screen. So as we look at Nvidia right here, guys, the 1 month, you see that big dip right here? This is where everybody was saying, oh man, I'm upset. I'm nervous. I bought Nvidia at 119. Now it dropped down to 98, dropped down to 100, right? Dropped down to 104. Everybody was having a kind of a hizzy fit, right? But it's come back up, right? We figured that right before earnings, it would make a sort of a leap, right? But we also figure this, that if earnings reports come in and it outperforms earnings, which it's done for the last year, if it outperforms earnings, you could see Nvidia go perhaps up to 135, 140, right? So you have to be, this is why earnings reports, around the times of earnings reports, especially for volatile stocks that are cyclical, like the tech stocks, right around earnings reports is really a big deal, right? Okay, Coca-Cola doesn't meet up to their expectations in terms of their earnings. Okay, Coca-Cola is going to go from $70 per share to $68 per share, right? Not a lot of volatility in Coca-Cola, not a lot of volatility in Walmart, not a lot of volatility in some of these staple AT&Ts and Procter and Gamble's, these value companies that have been around for 1,000 years, right? These dinosaurs, so to speak. But when you're talking about Nvidia and Broadcom and all of these tech companies that are 10 and 15 and 20 and 30 years old, Palantirs, right? When you're talking about these tech stocks, they move big, right? They move big. There's more risk with them. There's more volatility. There's more room to lose and more room to gain than, say, an old school value stock. These growth stocks, that's why they're growth stocks, right? They're a little more risky. But as I just want to point some things out to you guys real quick. Let me see if I can't dig into their financials real quick. Let me just go over here and see if I can't. I'm in Google. Let me get out of Google. I'm going to go to Yahoo. Let me go over to Yahoo real quick and pull up Nvidia. I just want to look at a couple things, guys, and I want to take you guys along for the ride here with me. Let's see here. Let's see if we can't just pull her up in Yahoo. I like Yahoo much better than Google. All right. What happened there? Where am I at? Let's see here. Just give me a second here, guys. All right, so here we go. All right, so I want to look at the financials real quick, guys. I just want to show you about Nvidia real quick. Like, that's why I don't need to spend a lot of time on the financials. The financials look great. The financials look fantastic, right? As I dig in here, let me go cash flow real quick, and let me just show you cash flow. Cash flow is something I always look at because cash flows tells me how much the company has left over to do whatever they got to do with, right? It could be a lot of different things, but free cash flow, $39 billion, right? $39 billion of free cash flow. And we're talking about trailing 12 months, right? $39 billion of cash flow. That's a whole lot of extra money. A whole lot of extra money. Now, if I go back over here to, let's see about their top line revenue real quick. So total top line revenue, almost 80 million, right? But look at the cost of that revenue. This is important. The total top line revenue is 80 million, but the cost of the revenue is only 20 million. Great, 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 excellent. That means they probably got wonderful, wonderful, wonderful margins, right? So they're selling a whole bunch of AI stuff, and they don't have necessarily a whole ton of debt, and it's not costing them a whole lot to up their revenues. For example, when we look at Super Micro Computers revenues, Super Micro Computer, yeah, they doubled and tripled their revenue. Great, great, great. But the cost of that revenue was really, really high, right? Really, really high this past quarter. That's why their earnings report came in a little shallow back on August 6th. But when you look at Nvidia, the numbers are off the chart. Yeah, they have sort of a higher than you want to see earnings per share, but their projected earnings per share is not going to be as high. Not to mention, we're talking tech here. In tech, all of the EPSs are usually high. Now, when you go to look at a stock like Chevron or Exxon Mobil, okay, they're not going to have PE, or they're not going to have PE ratios that are 40 and 50 and 60 and $70. But they have that in stock. I'm sorry, they have that in tech all the time, right? Large PE ratios, right? So the numbers, and I'm not going to dig too deep into their financials right here, but the numbers are pretty much off the chart when it comes to Nvidia. Look at the total assets, 65 billion. Then you turn around and look at net debt, 2 billion. Total debt, 11 billion. 65 billion in total assets, 11 billion in total debt. That's pretty, the numbers are wonderful for what you want to see for large companies like this. By the way, I think today Nvidia actually took over the number 2 spot from another company and became the second biggest company in the world, right? Just by market share, right? By market share only. So you got a lot of great stuff to look at in terms of Nvidia, right? A lot of great stuff to look at in terms of Nvidia. Let's see here. All right. We got a weak signal, guys. So bear with me if we lose our signal, what have you. Just bear with me. And like I said, this won't be a long video. I won't be on here before you very long, guys. Let me do that. Boom, boom. Take that down. Bap. Okay. So let me also mention this, because if you're invested in Nvidia, you probably want to know this. AMD today, and we talked about before, AMD is one of Nvidia's large competitors. And by the way, AMD CEO is the cousin of Nvidia CEO, right? By the way, if you didn't know that, right? They are cousins, right? So anyway, in AMD, Nvidia's competitor, they announced today a large acquisition to try to put themselves up in that same range in the AI ecosystem, so to speak, as Nvidia, right? They announced, and I'll read it off here. They announced they were acquiring a place called ZT Systems. ZT Systems provides computer design and infrastructure for AI, cloud, and general purpose computing. They purchased them for 4.9 billion, and that deal is not expected to go through until next year. But it's a mix of cash, stock, and all this other kind of stuff, right? But the plan for AMD is to incorporate ZT Systems computing infrastructure into their stuff, right? And so just so you know, AMD made a large acquisition today, and it's been in the news. You can Google it. You can check it out for yourself. But that's what there's some competition coming. That's what you got to take away, right? AMD is trying to make a move. And AMD is going to make a move. Apple is going to make a move. Meta is going to make a move. Amazon's going to make a move. You name it. They're all Broadcom is going to make a move, a little bit different sector, but they're all trying to make a move because they see what's happening with AI, right? They see what's happening with AI. AMD came out and said I'll just read it right here. The deal will give them a deeper bench of expertise in AI systems designs involving not just silicon, but software and systems that could help AMD sell more of its chips to its customers. So they said, they went on in an article to say they actually have invested already $1 billion in building their AI system up, right? So that's really important to know. There's competitors out there for Nvidia. But here's the kicker. The demand for AI is so huge that there's room for everybody. As you can tell in the tech world, if you're investing in tech stocks, there's room for a lot of people to grow, right? There's room for AMD to go boom, 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 boom. There's room for Nvidia to go way up there as well, right? Along with some of the other companies we mentioned, right? Now, do your research. I'm not here to give you necessarily yes, buy, yes, buy, yes, buy, no, don't buy, no, don't. I'm not giving you stock market advice. I am giving you what's happening, right? So you can be aware as an investor, aware as a retail investor about whether or not you need to buy more shares, sell shares, hold shares, whatever it may be, right? And it says the company that AMD purchased, Systems, they did not disclose the names of its clients, but it appears to have increased its profile in recent years for providing specialist support in some of the most interesting and expensive aspects of AI computing architecture design. So AMD has linked up with ZT Systems, and its CEO, Frank Zhang, will lead AMD's manufacturing business. So they're really incorporating, and they bought them for what, 4.9 billion. So big acquisition for AMD, trying to become a bigger player in the AI space. No, we're going to see more and more and more of that over the next several years as we get more and more competitors, right? And by the way, ZT Systems, their president is Doug Huang. I don't know if he's related to Jensen Huang or if he's not related, but Doug Huang is the owner of ZT that was purchased by AMD, which is the CEO of AMD, is the cousin of Nvidia's Jensen Huang. You put the pieces together. I don't know exactly how it fits, but hey, they're making a move on the worldwide AI push that we see happening, right? Let me just pull this one up. See if I can pull this one up real quick, guys. And this talks about that acquisition. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go. Well, I'll let you look. Let me just pull you guys into this real quick. Give me a second here. All right, there we go. All right, so boom, boom, boom. Saw this article in Yahoo that I'll share with you guys real quick, and it talked about that acquisition. So if you want to look at it, you want to do your research, check it out. There she is, AMD to buy ZT Systems, 4.9 billion challenge to Nvidia, and they go through and talk about exactly what I said. And let's see, it says ZT had about 10 billion of sales in the last 12 months, 10 billion in sales in the last 12 months, but they sold their company for 4.9 billion to AMD. Huh, interesting. All from manufacturing. AMD doesn't want to compete with customers like Dell Technologies and HP, so it will sell those production operations after closing the transaction the first half of next year. So, big story in Yahoo Finance about that, guys. I'll let you check that out. I don't want to go too deep into that. So, let's talk real quick. The big thing for an NVIDIA is this: demand, 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 and more demand. This is what's going to drive whether or not NVIDIA takes off to the moon, whether or not Broadcom takes off, whether or not Supermicro Computer takes off. And specifically, though, NVIDIA. The biggest threat to NVIDIA is not necessarily competitors. Okay. That's not the biggest threat, in my opinion, to NVIDIA. The biggest threat to NVIDIA right now, guys, is AI demand. If demand continues the way it has been in the last year and a half, NVIDIA is already ahead of everybody else. So competition, not their biggest threat. Competition is all of this AI demand stuff going to stick around, or is it going to go? Right? Let's see. Somebody, I'm going to go to the chat, guys. Hey, do me a favor, hit the like button. Haven't said that yet, guys, because I just jumped right in. Hit the like button for me. Share the link. If you know somebody who's interested in NVIDIA or investing in the stock market, wants a good stock to follow or put on their watch list or even invest in, or at least do some research about, have them take a look at NVIDIA. But make sure they understand and have them share this link with them. But make sure they understand that all stocks don't behave like NVIDIA, right? I mean, you're not going to buy Costco and it's going to do all this stuff that we see NVIDIA doing, right? So just make sure that you preface when you send the link out to them, you tell them that. In the description box below, guys, I've got my channel partner, Mint Mobile. Please check out Mint Mobile in the description box below. Fastest 5G network. They use it. I'm a customer. I really appreciate their customer service, right? They don't have box stores, but you call them up or you send them information online. They're excellent in terms of their customer service. Very good. Solid if you want to save some money on your premium wireless services. Mint Mobile. Link to that in the description box below. Also, again, thank you, 669. Appreciate it. Or thank you, Validated. Appreciate it. Thanks for saying that. Somebody said, cut out the middleman. Just looking at some chat real quick, because I do want to go a little deeper into demand real quick, guys, and kind of really hit demand, because I want you guys to, if you're thinking about Nvidia or you're already invested and own Nvidia, or even if you own it in your ETFs, I think you need to know a little bit about the demand for the industry. Let's see. I love ETFs and they're my go-to portfolio driver, but for growth gold stocks, I like individual, bigger risk, bigger rewards. I'm also on 32. Okay, great. Yeah, makes a lot of sense, Brian. Thanks for adding that comment. Absolutely. Let's say somebody said dollar cost averaging, long-term hold. Nothing wrong with that. Taiwan Super Factory. They can't replicate in Arizona. Wonder why. I'm going to look into TSM. TSM is what they're referring to right there. The Walla Mala 5K. Okay, just say if you guys got questions for me in the chat. You guys really, really love this chat. If you're watching this on a replay, please feel free to look at our chat. Our chat is lively with a lot of very, very smart people in it, and a lot of investors, new to mid-range investors, right? Some seasoned, but a lot of new to mid-range investors in our chat. And there's a lot of, you can get a lot of information and learn a lot just by reading the chat. So appreciate you guys being active in there and keeping the mess out. Let's see. Somebody said TSM. Okay, let me see if I get caught up on the chats. No questions for me. Let's see if we can start talking. 145 by the end of the week. You think so? Huh. 130 today, 145 by the end of the week. I don't know if it's going to be that quick before we get to 145, right? I think it may be a little bit longer. Somebody said they increased their positions in Nvidia today. Okay, cool. Nothing wrong with that. If you believe in it and you've done your research, let's talk demand. Demand, demand, demand. That's the key word for Nvidia, guys. If you're looking to invest in it, check out the demand for the industry. We already talked about Nvidia has a moat around it. In other words, Nvidia is several years ahead of its closest competitor in terms of the AI market. So they're going to benefit from this AI boom. But if it's not an AI boom, keep your eyes open and there's some pullback, right? Which is what people were saying a couple of weeks ago. But before I dig deep, let me see if we got a question. What do you think of INTC Intel at $19-20 per share? I've never been a fan of Intel. Okay. There's just been something about Intel where I've never been a fan of Intel. And as you can see, if you look at the 5-year on Intel, the 5-year performance, it ain't been a fun ride for anybody that's had Intel. I've never been an Intel person. I just never have. So you ask, what do I think about Intel? I'm not keen on them, but I'd have to do some more in-depth research, right? Let's see here. Somebody said ticker symbol METV. Have not answered that, but we can look at that maybe a little later, or maybe put that in the comments afterwards, and I'll take a look at it. All right. So demand. Let's go deeper into demand just a little bit. According to recent data from two places, but let's stick with the one from Statista. The global AI and the AI market, the global market is projected to reach around 800, depending on where you look, 700 to 900 billion dollars by 2030. Statista says it's $826. I'm sorry, $826 billion by 2030. Now, right now, today in this year, 2024, 2025, we're looking at a little bit less than 200 billion, the AI market. So most places are projecting a fourfold increase, 3 to 4-fold increase in the AI market in the next 5 to 6 years. That's big. That's really, really big, right? Now, as I mentioned before, the difference between today and 2024 and the tech boom of 1999, 2000, when everybody lost a bunch of money in tech, the difference is this. Today, we have a strong technology infrastructure built up. I don't care if you go to healthcare. I don't care if you go to the financial sector. I don't care if you go to oil, energy, manufacturing. I don't care where you go in the world. Technology is a part of that industry. a huge part of the industry. In the year 1999, that was not the case. And so in the year 1999, they were introducing new stuff, new technology, new possibilities, right? And there was no infrastructure built up to handle the new technology, the new thought process, the where everybody wants to go in terms of, there was no infrastructure in 1999. It was weak. It just wasn't there like it is today. AI is being built on top of an existing infrastructure of technology in every sector of the market. Semiconductor, well, we can go to name it. I mean, tree farming to making food, the shipping industry, name the industry. Technology is there and in place and not going anywhere. Therefore, this little boom in AI that we're seeing, this massive boom, is different than what we saw in 2000. There was no climate, no environment, no infrastructure built up to handle that technology. So we saw a large pullback in the year 2000, right? I don't think we see that large pullback in demand, because what does every business and every industry want? They want to get more efficient. How do you get more efficient? And why do they want to get more efficient? Every industry wants to get more, wants technology, AI, to get more efficient so they can make more profits, make more money. That's the goal, right? Exxon Mobil, you name them, right? Palantir, whoever, I don't care where you go, whatever industry, they want to make more money. They want to be more efficient. How do they be more efficient? They introduce AI. And so this introduction of AI, and they're not as totally technology illiterate like we were 25 years ago, right? Now they see the benefit of technology and efficiencies. Now, how can we become more efficient? You throw AI on top of the mix. And this is why I think you see Meta, Amazon, Tesla, you name all the big boys, you see them adding and spending billions and billions and billions on AI. Because if they can spend 10 billion on AI to make 40 billion, they're going to do it. They're going to make themselves more efficient. And they already know the power of technology. And like I say, we don't have to take it just to those companies. We can take it to the federal government, who's spending a lot of money on AI as well. All right. Or we can take it to any industry you name, right? Pharmaceutical, right? You can go to the pharmaceutical industry. They're utilizing, they're finding ways. They're hiring people to find ways to figure out how AI can help them more efficient, be efficient, be more profitable. And guess what? Now they're going out spending billions and billions and billions on AI, building up that infrastructure. So my point is that AI, there's a large demand for it, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Rapid expansion is happening, right? I think AI, and you can tell by the projection by Statista, right? The predicted growth of that industry is huge, right? Let's see here. Somebody said, I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Hopefully AI doesn't rule in a scary way. That's a good point, Osiris. There's obviously that whole issue that needs to be addressed as well. The ethical side or moral side of AI and what it can and cannot do. So let's see. Somebody said they got some calls out there for doing some calls, maybe some puts and so forth. But think about industry adoption. Think about the business world, the finance world. Companies constantly adopting AI to predict stuff, right? Generative AI, right? For their customer service, for their fraud detection, right? Their cyber security, right? Their individualized, customized marketing, right? For folks. How about healthcare, right? Think about all the uses of AI in terms of diagnostics. And I'm not a healthcare guy, but drugs and, patient management, what do they call it? Telepatient, what do they call it? Telehealth, right? I mean, think about the uses of AI. Think about in the retail industry, inventory management. I mean, how many, like I said before, how many of you had to spend 2 days. I used to work at Circuit City, right? You spend 2 days where you got to be there from 10 in the morning till 12 at night counting inventory, right? Well, those days are gone, obviously, right, with technology. But now you have AI to even do a faster, quicker read on that thing, right? Could enhance it. Could enhance supply chains, manufacturing, warehouses, right? Automation, quality control, all could be AI driven, right? Improving the speed of algorithms, the complexity of algorithms, the size of databases, right? So there's a lot of different ways that AI is becoming this thing that is going to be a regular, everyday occurrence at every business because its demand is all over the place, right? The global market for AI is not going anywhere, in my opinion. The overall demand is predicted to be a 3 or 4-fold increase. Now, if the AI demand is a 3 or 4-fold increase in the next 6 years, and the company that leads AI, the company that is the out front winner in AI by 2 or 3 years at least, if AI is gonna go fourfold, 3 to 4-fold, what do you think is gonna happen to Nvidia? We're looking we're looking at a price right now, price per share of $130. Well, if it's leading AI and AI is really going to do all this multiplying, who knows what could happen to Nvidia's share price, right? And that's why I'm doing this video to say the earnings report is coming up. The earnings report likely not will be, because I don't know for sure. There's a good chance that it could be a positive report again. And if it's a positive report again, you best believe Nvidia is not going to stay at $130 per share, right? Hey, all of the need for AI, the demand I just mentioned, I didn't even mention cryptocurrency mining, gaming. Like Nvidia really built itself up in the gaming industry, which is a nearly $300 billion industry by itself. I think a lot of people like me and you guys, just regular people, a lot of people just don't realize, because I'm not a gamer, right? I don't do gaming, right? I don't do the gaming. But gaming is twice as big as the movies and the music industry combined. If you put music and the worldwide music industry, worldwide movie industry, you put them together, and gaming is more than twice the size of those two together, maybe closer to 3 times the size of those two. So gaming is huge. Who is the leader in graphic GPUs and graphic design for gaming? It's Nvidia, right? It's Nvidia. And you talk about cryptocurrency is going to go through the moon and Bitcoin is going to reach. Who is providing the stuff for that crypto mining? It's Nvidia. Like, when you start to see how many different places that Nvidia has their hands knee deep and are the leader in terms of AI, in terms of graphics, you begin to understand why everybody is so bullish on this particular stock, right? But you have to know the whole breadth of all the industries they are the leader in, or the heavy participator in. So they're doing a lot, and this is why we've seen, their revenue jump 2 and 3 and 400%, because as AI goes, so goes Nvidia. As AI goes, so goes Nvidia. And in my opinion, I think I think the stats from Statista and other places, I think they're right. Right? Somebody said, yeah, I use founders cards. I use the founders cards for gaming and mining crypto. Absolutely. There we go. Osiris is in the house. Thanks for being here. Somebody said, let's see here. Sold off Nvidia and Google A to buy 50 shares of SPY. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm an ETF guy. I'm okay with that. Right? Let's see here. Let's see if we got any more questions for me. I'm going to the Island Boy concert. What's that? Beetlejuice? Let's see. AI. Let's see here. Boom, boom. Who thinks Nvidia will reach 135 by the end of the month? It's very possible. Very, very possible. Mrs. Moore in the house. Good to have you, Mrs. Moore. Thanks for being here. Guys, hit that thumbs up button for me. Just tap the thumbs up. So look, listen, AI is growing. I want you to do your own research about AI, about Nvidia, about what you think is going to happen to the stock. You've got to make an independent decision for you. Does it fit? Maybe you don't care anything about AI. You don't care about technology. You don't have to participate. You don't have to buy Nvidia. This is not a I'm not telling you to go out and buy Nvidia. I'm telling you that if you're considering it, do your research, understand that the earnings report's coming up, and if you're watching it or it's on your watch list and it's at 130, it may go above that as soon as we get this earnings report that may be positive. Now watch this. We could get an earnings report that's negative and it can go back down to $110 per share. That could happen, right? We just don't know. But another favorable report could lead to a jump in its price. But here's the kicker, though. You always have to watch this with Nvidia. You always have to watch this with tech stocks, specifically Nvidia. There's so much irrational exuberance around Nvidia. See, the analysts, they've looked at all the numbers and they've looked at all the moat around Nvidia. They've looked at the competitors. They looked at the industry. They've done all that, right? But the average retail person hasn't really done all that. So that average retail person is going to say, oh, wow, Nvidia, I'm going to go invest. And instead of investing by doing research, they invest based on the herd mentality. Everybody's buying it, so I'm going to go buy it. Everybody's doing it, so I'm going to go do it. I'm a sheep, so hey, I don't feel like digging into the numbers. I don't care about free cash flow. I don't care about return on equity. I don't care anything about the forward PE ratio. I don't care nothing about earnings per share. I don't care about EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes, amortization, right? I don't care about any of that. All I care about is that what Jim Cramer said today and that article I read on Yahoo, I'm going to go buy me some. You have a lot of people that do that. And when they do that, that drives the price up into a bubble, right? That drives the price up into, that's what we call irrational exuberance, and it drives the price up. And it's not really the value of the stock. It's the perceived value of the stock driven by irrational exuberance. So you have to be careful about that when you're investing in a stock like Nvidia. We saw it 2 months ago. All right. Raise your hand if you saw it. You saw it 2 months ago when Nvidia went to $139 per share, and it really wasn't worth $139 per share. Right. That's why it came back down and trickled back down, because ultimately the market, this is why the market doesn't need a lot of regulation, because the market ultimately does what the market's going to do based on lots of different variables. The market does what the market's going to do. Right? I'm a person that I believe that the market should do what the market got to do. In other words, I don't want too much regulation from the federal government. I don't want too much regulation. I want the market to do what the market going to do. If you're going to fail, if you have a big old business and you're going to fail. Let the market do what the market is going to do. Let supply, demand, and all these market things that affect the market, let them do. Stop manipulating the market and touching the market. That's my opinion, right? Right? And so that's why you got to be careful about that, though, if you're investing in Nvidia, right? Let's see here. Somebody said, I'm not dealing with individual stocks. We ain't professionals. Ain't or ant? No, hey, listen, individual stocks is tough. It's tough. Just ask the people who put a whole bunch of money in Nvidia when it was $135 per share. They're still shaking, right? They're still wondering, oh my gosh, is it going to come back? Not everybody, but some of them, because I've had some of them email me or put a comment on a video, right? But you have to be careful about irrational exuberance. Somebody said Nvidia is too big to fail. It's a trillion cap company. It won't flop. Only your flip flops. Listen, the pep, you can't listen. Do you know how many stocks have been too big to fail over the last 25, 35 years? So, think about it. Well, you got to do your research, right? There's been a lot of stocks that have been too big to fail over the last 20, 30, 40 years, right? But it happens, right? Let's not act like it doesn't happen. It does happen, right? Somebody said I put a whole bunch of money on Nvidia at $100 per share, right? Maybe a good move, perhaps, right? So here, guys, I just want to kind of hip you to what's going on, right? You got to do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, smash that like button for me, right? Is there a question? If there's a question, put a Q in there and I'll see if I can answer it, guys. I think I skipped a few, but I was just trying to catch up because I got behind. But if you're watching this on Facebook, this is what we do over on Smart Money Bro on YouTube. Not only do we talk about stocks, but we talk about basic management of money, how to handle money, how to grow money, how to invest money, whether it's ETFs, single stocks, what have you. We also talk about how to make more money, how to keep more money, how to pass along more money, all those types of things in terms of the regular investor or regular person. So we don't only talk stocks on this channel. We talk money in general, right? What's going to happen when the Fed meets and they lower the Fed funds rate by 25 basis points or 50 basis points in the next week and a half? What's going to happen? What does that mean for me as a consumer? What does it mean for me as a person who's looking to maybe invest money, right? How do I need to start thinking about money to make money last longer? How do I do, like I did a video this weekend, how do I make sure I do my budget in a certain way, right? How do I make sure I do my net worth statement? How do I grow my money? We talk about all things money for regular, ordinary, average people. And I don't talk above people's heads. I'm not going to pull out the charts necessarily. Sometimes I'll look at some charts and some more detailed stuff, right? But for the most part, I try to keep it at a point where the average person can understand it. The sixth grader, you could put a sixth grader in front of this YouTube channel, and they will understand and comprehend everything that I'm talking about, right? Because these are the ways that I was able to grow my money from a negative $30,000 net worth at the age of 30 to a seven-figure net worth just after the age of 50, right? It wasn't fancy. It was just doing real basic stuff. And that's what we talk about on this channel for regular people, because I'm just a regular person. I'm no different, no better, no smarter than anybody else. I'm just sitting here trying to give you, everybody else, a little bit of game that I was able to manage over the last 20 years or so, 20 plus years, right? So, hey, do me a favor, hit the like button, share the link with somebody you know, guys. Let me know in the comment section below. Comment. What is your position on Nvidia? Where are you at on Nvidia? Where are you in terms of purchasing? Are you all in? Are you half in? Are you saying no? I'm going to stick with my VOO. I'm going to stick with my QQQ. I'm going to stick with my JPEQ. I'm going to go ahead and stick with my VGT. I'm going to stick with my MGK. I'm going to stick with all of these ETFs or index funds. And I'm not messing with individual stocks because they're too volatile, right? I don't want to watch a stock every single day to see if it went from 122 to 125. I don't have time for that. If that's you, that's cool, right? There's nothing at all wrong with that at all, right? Because there's room for everybody's style and risk tolerance level in terms of investing, right? Let's see here. Any more questions here? Bad things can happen to good companies. That's right. I look at Warner Brothers. Yeah, Warner Brothers. Woo! Oh, Warner Brothers. Yep, that's one of those, what they call them, the dinosaurs, right? Paramount, a dinosaur, right? Fruit of the Loom was a dinosaur. Look, Walgreens, right? There's the person mentioned, Ruby mentioned, there's quite a few companies that can go from right up here to right down here in a matter of 2 or 3 or 4 years, right? That happens. Let's not act like Nvidia is going to shoot to the moon for the next 10 years, right? Not with Amazon, who's developing their own stuff, and Meta, who's developing their own stuff, and who else? Google Is Google, who's the one in the lawsuit right now? Is that Google in the lawsuit? Google may be broken up here because of the lawsuit that's going to go up to the Supreme Court, where they're going to rule on whether or not it's been a monopoly or not, right? But all these companies, Tesla, look what happened to Tesla, right? Tesla dipped way down. It's come back since, but look, you don't know what's going to happen with Nvidia. All the numbers and all the analysts say that it's looking good, especially based on forward projections. But you just don't know. Don't get to do your own homework and your own research. Don't take it from me, and don't take it from Kramer, and don't take it from some other guy that you watch on YouTube. You got to understand it. Look, somebody said Enron, right? Warner Brothers, right? I got it. You're right, Warner Brothers. But the point is, it happens, right? Somebody says, I'm riding Nvidia storm all the way out. Sunday night up 58% already, holding 200 shares at 93 per share. That's a good buy. That's probably a pretty good buy right there. Can't go wrong with an ETF. ETF's cool, but remember, you're not going to see that high highs with an ETF. You may have an ETF where Nvidia is 10 or 15% of the weight in that bucket called that ETF, but you're not going to be able to participate in those really high highs. But it also means you're not going to be able to participate in those really low lows, right? So VOO, I have some, well, I used to have some VOO. I got the index equivalent of the VOO over on Vanguard. So nothing wrong with having VOO where Nvidia is only 6 or 7% of the weight in there. Nothing wrong with that at all, right? I think Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to jump back in here. We're going to talk about super microcomputer who didn't reach their expectations. And I may even have a little conversation about Palantir, which is kind of blowing. It's doing what really well. I did a video a few weeks ago on Palantir. If you want to, there's a link in the description box, the very first link. That is the video on Palantir I did last about 2 or 3 weeks ago, talking about how Palantir could be the next Nvidia, right? If they just shore up a couple of things, right? They're leaving the they're leaving the government space, and they're taking all that knowledge and information to companies, right? For cybersecurity and all that good stuff. That's Palantir's wheelhouse. And they're bringing that now, 15 years, 20 years of experience of that into the corporate space, which listen, cyber crimes are not doing anything but going up. So any company that's helping other companies reduce cyber crimes, that may be a company you want to look at, right? That may be a company you want to look at, because cyber crime, it ain't like they're going away, or we have cyber criminals under, under control. No, cyber crime is going to be more and more and more. The more AI, the more computers, the more technology, the more crime. So any company that is out there helping companies curtail that and save money, be efficient, be secure, right? Secure their networks. Hey, that ain't a bad company to look at in terms of your research, right? Somebody said, what's your thoughts on ER for Nvidia going up or down? We say ER. Tell me which ER you're talking about, because I got about 10 of them in my head. So Devin, if you can tell me which one you're talking about, I can give you a better answer. Yeah. Hey, Mark, I appreciate being here, man. This is what I'm here to do. Help you guys as much as possible. Somebody says I'm 4,500 up on Palantir. Palantir's had a good few weeks, obviously, right? They were trading, I think, last I checked, at 21, 22, 23. Now they're trading at 31, 32, right? So how about, are you sticking? How about you having, okay, 6 speed, sticking with ETFs? Nothing wrong with that. I have an ETF portfolio. I have a single stock portfolio. If you want to know what my portfolios are, we're over on Patreon, and over there is where I kind of reveal a little bit more about my own personal portfolio, right? Let's see here. Earnings report. Yeah, that may be what Devin is. Okay, upcoming. Is that what you said, Devin? Devin, what's your thoughts on earnings report for Nvidia going up, down? I think the earnings report that's coming up in about 10 days or 8 days or whatever, I think the earnings report is going to be fairly positive. I don't know for sure. I just don't know. Right. I don't, that's my thought process, is that it's going to be fairly positive. Please don't quote me on that. Right. Because I can't tell you one way or the other. Right. If I could tell you one way or the other, right, I could be making millions of dollars doing that, telling people what's going on. I just don't know. I think based on everything I'm seeing in terms of demand for AI, because demand has stayed so high, I think it's probably going to be a positive, but we just don't know that for sure. Right? We'll see what happens. Good question. So I'm going to let you guys go for the night. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your Monday evening with me. The best thing you can do for this channel is to share the information, hit the like button, and share the information with other people who may be interested in this particular single stock or single stocks in general. Right. And then also in the description box, please check out the free stuff, right? The stuff that doesn't cost any money, right? Free ebook and stuff like that in the description box. Please check out a few of those other videos in the description box. Those are going to be important as well. Also, do me a favor and what was I going to say? Boom, boom, boom. Had a freeze, unfreeze me. All right. So, oh, by the way, no, I don't do options, Osiris. I don't mess with calls and puts. Don't do it, right? Not at this point. Maybe down the road I might get into them, but right now I don't. Listen, as I always say, always, guys, I don't care if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and I think I'm one other place I can't think of. But listen, I always say this, and I mean this, guys. The absolute best person to take care of the old you is not the government. The absolute best person to take care of the old you is not your children. The absolute best person to take care of the old you is not the nursing home, right? The absolute best person who's going to be able to feed you with food, who's going to be able to pay your mortgage or rent, who's going to be able to pay your light bill, your water bill when you get to be 60, 70, 80 years old, the best person to take care of that old you is the young you, the you today, the you with good energy, the you that can work 20, 30, 40 hours, 50 hours. It can be on your feet for 30 and 40 hours, or can do something, or can learn something, or can make something better. The best person to take care of that old you is this young you, who you are today. All right. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. And thank you to the rest of you guys. We will see you probably on Wednesday. I may be talking about super micro. We'll see. Guys, take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video. Peace.